So it is a very great honor for me to be here in Patton, which I have spoken many, many times here pre-COVID in this very set of rooms, which have been totally redone. In my absence, I could have given some advice like, don't have a maze that you crawl through. But anyway, we did not get that advice to them. So I'm walking over here to Pamela, and here is the thing. If you have had the gift that I've had of being here again and again and again for on target training to make the very best literacy teachers in Pennsylvania. It is all because of her energy and her team's energy that makes a difference. And so last night we watched a video. We had some people from this area or from the state and speakers at a dinner so that we could sort of visit. And we got to watch a video of people honoring her. And what was interesting is that all of their presentations were to be 2 minutes. And what they did was talk for 2 minutes, but the first half was on her as a professional, that she is knowledgeable, that she is gifted, that she has made a difference in Pennsylvania and across the United States and across the world in the area of literacy, and that she has constantly been the champion. And they went on and on and on and on about woo-woo Pamela. And probably they added humble to it too. But then they went into, and she's kind and true and caring and loving and one of my best friends. And I was sitting there thinking, no, Pamela's my friend. And you mean you're no, no. I'm her best friend. And everybody had the same second half because this is the gift she brings, is not only the gift of the work she does, but the gift of connection that we all have felt. And it's a great loss if she decides to retire because she's like a waffler on the retirement word. And I gave her some advice. People asked me, should you retire? When are you going to retire, Archer? And my role always is to say, let's look at the morphemes. We have to do it again, tired, to get tired again. I think I'm going to skip that one. And then last night I heard one of the best responses. Well, I'll quit when everybody can read. See, that goes into eternity. So that's a long time. But I do think that we should stand and give her another applause for all of her work for Pennsylvania. Yes. Thanking, standing up. Absolutely. And in the air, some quiet applause too. Woo, 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 woo. And she deserves every bit of it. She will continue serving children of Pennsylvania. Your scores are going to go up, up, up because you're doing the right things for children. Thank you, dear one. Thank you. Did you want to say a few words? Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. I did speak earlier. I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Patton. I've been so grateful to work here. It's a learning organization, a place where we come to learn and be together and collaborate. I know that's why all of you are here. It's been the honor of my life to be a part of your lives. I am retiring, but I'm failing retirement pretty soon, right? But of course, I'll be spending more time with those 6 amazing grandchildren, Lola, Layla, Leo, Lily, Louie, and Daphne. So, but I hope to see you. And of course, still continuing with the Reading League and doing some consulting kind of across the state, but just very, very, very grateful to be a part of your lives. And thank you so much. And I am really embarrassed by all this, but it's very kind of you to do it. Thank you.
Well, not too long ago, is my mic on so you can hear it? Okay. Not too long ago, I was in Toronto at a conference that had a luncheon speaker. And I'll never forget this because I leaned over to the person who was sitting next to me, who was at the head of IDA in Ontario. And I said, oh my God, I never asked me to do a luncheon speech. And then here I am getting to keep all of you totally on task during woo-woo lunch. And so notice that I said to myself as I looked out at you, if only I could levitate. Then I could keep you all on task. Could you go off task? And then I would use close proximity and piercing eye contact. But no. But this is a topic that lays right on what we're doing here with all of these sessions. Because I looked through, you went on 2 sessions and are going to go on more sessions on decoding, on syntax, on comprehension, on vocabulary, on implementation. And the one thing when I looked over all of the people that were coming, I said to Pamela that we should have one on active participation, because everything is guaranteed not to work unless the students are participating and making responses. And when I walk the halls of high schools, it is often silence, 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 silence. And I think if you're there for 50 minutes and never asked to say something, write something, do something, you're a hero from getting to school. And so if you want to change things, yes, you're going to follow the kinds of content that were outlined in your sessions. But if you do not pair it with significantly increasing opportunities to respond, it's all for naught. It won't make a difference because you won't be there, students won't be present, they won't be thinking, they won't be responding. So that's why this session is on active participation. And so if you just honor me, you are welcome to eat because, woo, it was a good lunch. Mine's waiting for me. But no phones, calls, just step out of the room, and no sidebar conversations. But here are our mottos. And my turn first. Learning is not a spectator sport. Everybody, learning is not a spectator sport. Now, raise your hand if you happen to work in high schools. See, I believe that many high school children have a strategy. First day of school, I'm going to get to that class early and sit in the back, as if to announce, my body is here, but expect no more. And raise your hand if you think that could happen in your district. So, but learning cannot occur unless we are saying things, writing things, or doing things. And our second big motto for this session is, everyone read it, everyone does everything. 3 times. Everyone does everything. Everyone does everything. Everyone does everything. For the first thing we're going to talk about is having at your middle schools, having at your high schools, a no hand raised policy next year. A no hand raised policy next year. What, everyone? A no hand raised policy next year. Why? Well, when I go to watch middle school classes and high school classes, the most common way of engaging is for the teacher to ask a question, for the students to raise their hands, for then the teacher to call on a student. And who's going to raise their hand? High or low performing students, everyone? High. Assertive or shy? Assertive. A student that is facile in English or emerging? Facile, meaning very good. And so we end up calling on the highest performing students, the most confident students, the most proficient in English students, what I call teaching the best and leaving the rest. So if you want equity at your school, you start with equitable practices, not just like this is our goal. Well, look in your school and find those practices that are unequitable. And you're going to start with raised hands. because all we're doing is teaching the highest performing students and having them practice and having them bond with the teacher, and everybody else very quickly opts out in middle school and high schools. It does not take long to know that the teacher's going to ask questions. We're going to raise our hands. And thank God Scott is there, because Scott is our major hand raiser. And on a day that Scott's not there, we wonder, what are we going to do? Where's Scott? That's exactly what happens in middle school and high school. And don't forget that you are gifted. Okay. Okay. So, well, how are we going to participate? Well, we've already started. One thing we are going to do is structured choral responses. I'll ask a question. I'll put up my hands. This says, think, do not blurt. And when I lower my hand, you'll say the answer. So, everybody, you're in what state? You're in Pennsylvania. Okay, some of you need more thinking time on Pennsylvania, but okay. And what day of the week is it? It is, and I've learned that some of you are out of school already. Raise your hand if school's over for you. Ooh, ooh, we're all jealous. Raise your hand if you have school next Monday. Okay. Okay, now where would that come from? That was you. All right. Extra monitoring.
Next Friday.
Extra monitoring.
Oh.
Okay, so now this is so interesting because many secondary teachers say, oh, I would never use choral responses. I mean, that's so like kindergarten. Well, here's the thing. Would it help in my content area classes at my school, in the science class, the social studies class, the health class, the music class, the PE class, the art class? Do we want the students to learn some knowledge? Yes or no, everyone? Yes, and much knowledge is often would end up with short responses. And the goal of choral responses is everybody does everything. And so by using choral responses, when the answers are short, the students are going to have more responses and be more awake. So I'm going to use them with you. You're going to use them with your students. You're going to model it for your teachers, and we're going to get it going. We are also going to sometimes read things together. Now, basically, the more you read, the better you get. So we want, when we have slides, for the students to read it. When we have learning standards, we want them to read it. When we want to have an assignment, maybe an experiment that is explained in science, we might read it together, and we could use choral reading. We're also going to use, probably one of the best things in terms of secondary, is use of partners. Now, many of us have used over time, oh, turn and talk, oh, turn and talk, woo woo, oh, turn and talk. Now, the problem with oh, turn and talk, do they have options in terms of the topics they might bring up in oh, turn and talk? Yes or no, everyone? Yes, okay. But the research actually shows that if you have unstructured partners, inevitably there's someone who will really dominate the partnership. Raise your hand if you believe that at your school you have dominators who will start the conversation, will take over the conversation, will be the conversation. So again, it's an equitable reason. If we want everybody involved, we have to structure the partners. So let me model with this table, then you're going to do it. You're number one, partner number two. You're number one, partner number two. You're number one, partner number two. And at this table, you're number one, partner number two, but there's a triad. You know, and I really believe, do we have any principals here? Raise your hands high so I can extra monitor you. Yes. And you put it down as soon as I said that. High in the air, principals. Okay, see, principals in every class in the middle school, high school, when someone's partner goes home, it's evident that you have to send their partner home. And that's just the way it works, okay? But let's see what we would do here. Instead, we have an odd number. You're number one, you're a two here, and you're a two. At your table, get a partner, give yourself the numbers 1 and 2. If you have an odd number, middle one's a 1, others are 2s, and go. Hey, fall silent. Always tell this story because it happened many, many years ago, but I was in a classroom and the teacher said, fall silent. And I thought it was much nicer than shut up. So I adopted it then, and you can adopt it. Okay, and so raise your hand if you're a 1. I'm looking at that corner. Raise your hand if you're a 2. Leave no one out. Raise your hand if you're a 1. Raise your hand if you're a 2. Raise your hand if you're a 1. Raise your hand if you're a 1. Oh, okay. That was a alertness check. Okay. So these are what we're going to use. And I chose these because all 3 of them could be in an intervention class, a science class, a social studies class, a health class. They're a very good starter set for active participation. Well, we came to this conference, which is wonderful. I know they really worked hard to find a day when the building could be used for this purpose and all of us could gather, because we are all concerned about students having adequate literacy skills. And we know that they're reading less, which doesn't help. You need practice reading, but we all had the goal that we would learn things that could increase learning. And basically, all of your sessions are going to align to that. And then the delivery of the information is critical, because what we know is the quality of our teaching makes a significant difference in the quality of students' learning. And so if I have you say things together as I teach, and you have many opportunities to rehearse and retrieve information, there's going to be more what, everyone? More learning with enthusiasm, more learning. And if I have partners in my class that are structured, and you're often saying answers to a partner in academic language that is monitored by the teacher, there will once again be more what, everyone? More learning. And if I have you write answers down on a slate, and yes, you're in a literacy class, but oh my goodness, today the teacher's reviewing all punctuation, and you have to write the punctuation mark that is missing at that point, there's going to be more what, everyone? More learning. And if I have you work as a team and structured ways so everybody's involved, again, we're rehearsing and retrieving information, there's going to be more what, everyone? More learning. So the teaching procedures directly relates to the probability of what, everyone? Learning and more learning and more learning. Woo woo, good job. How do you like the animation? Pretty cool. Okay. So, but these 2 words are ones that I want you just to get down. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. Everybody, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And hand on your head, and you're in. From your memory, retrieve, retrieve, retrieve. Now do it again with the words, everybody. Retrieve, retrieve, retrieve. These are the 2 actions that lead to information working memory going to permanent memory, is we rehearse the information and we retrieve it, retrieve it. So we are going to look at different practices. But one of the things I did in the last few weeks when I visited schools is I looked at standards for teachers and behaviors that were looked for in terms of the actual walkthroughs. And almost every one of them said a variety of responses in the classroom. And I had to disagree with that, because variety is not always useful. It is the task that we are doing that determines the procedure we use. The task dictates the procedure. Everybody, the task dictates the procedure. If it's short and very short, we might say it together. If it's long explanations, we might do it with a partner. Maybe we've all brainstormed and now we have the task of debriefing with the whole group. So it's not always variety. It is methods that are effective, that are efficient, that work, that we should be picking. All right, well, we're going to start with why. And I noticed that many of you have no pencil out and paper, but you have your computer. Either way, you're going to brainstorm. So get a blank screen on your computer and on paper and pencil and pen or on your phone. Okay,
She has sticky notes, but no pencil.
okay. You know, all right. Help your neighbors. Help your neighbors. Oh, not quite as much as you. Oh. All right. So read the question with me, keep your voice with mine, and go. Why is it important to frequently elicit responses from students in secondary classes? Not looking ahead in your slides, and you'll have, let me find my phone here. You'll have 1 minute to write down your ideas. Don't write sentences, just why is it important? For example, the students are more engaged. Woo, everybody can write that one down and have a good start. Okay, and go. Pencils down. All right, you're going to share with your partner, and ones are going first, then twos, and you're going to say one reason that we want to elicit responses is, twos are going to say another reason that we want to elicit responses is, and then you're going to go back and forth. If you have the same idea as your partner, put a little check after it as if to say, yes, I was good, and go. Hi.
Hi.
And you, what'd you say?
I said it to show you something about their thought process, how they got.
Absolutely. Right. And your best idea? So it is, yes, if I call on them, they're practicing that, and retrieval of the information, and
Breath over or depth over breath.
so that they're learning something. And all of you should have said learning because that is the big purpose. Welcome to this conference. Glad to talk to you. Hey, and fall silent. Fall silent. Okay, we all had different ideas, and we are going to whip around here. And your best idea from your list is one reason that we should get frequent responses is?
One reason we should get frequent responses is to increase the likelihood that students are understanding the content presented.
They're more likely to understand the concept that's been presented. And
Another reason to bring students in secondary classrooms is that everyone is engaged.
everyone is engaged, and a gifted one. So,
Another reason to listen.
yes, keep them focused on the topic, thinking about that topic. And
Another reason to frequently elicit responses for students in secondary classes is to set a high standard for engagement.
for engagement and for academic learning. Absolutely. And
Another reason to elicit frequent responses is so that students feel invested in the learning community.
so that they are invested and they're a part of a community, which we're showing right now. And
Another reason to frequently elicit responses is to alleviate perceptions of
so you're getting feedback as a teacher and can adjust your lesson if they have a misunderstanding, a misconception. And last answer.
Another reason to elicit responses from secondary students is to reinforce key concepts.
Absolutely. So that I'm asking questions and having them share on key concepts. Woo, woo, woo. Good job. Woo. Now, everything we've done up to now, could we say things together in a secondary class? Yes or no? Yes, could we have students share with their partner who's a structured partner? Yes or no? Could we have them say answers as we go around the room, a whip around? Yes or no? No, but we're just not doing it. We're just like sitting there passively and listening to the lecture that's been given for 9, 10 years in the past. But you know, here's the thing. I find that secondary teachers, it's mostly because they were never modeled or taught these procedures. It's not that they don't adopt them quickly. We've had rapid adoptions at second. Oh God, I can do I'm going to do partners tomorrow. Kids come in, we're doing partners starting today, but they're structured partners, 1s and 2s. So I can say 1, tell your partner, 2, tell your partner, everybody has a job. And it boom, just happens like that because they see the science of it, the need for it, and so it does happen, but they have to see it in action. All right, so, well, I brainstormed this and you brainstorm with your partner. And so starting with, it creates a positive learning environment, and get ready to answer. It increases everybody, and it increases behavior, that is, and it increases, because there are those students who opt out, are shocked when I go to do demonstration lessons. Oh God, I have to participate. So it increases accountability for being present and learning, and it promotes desired behaviors. But the research shows as the responses go up, behavioral problems go down. In fact, I would say it's the #1 way to reduce behavioral problems is to give them a option, another behavior. So it reduces what, everyone? Inappropriate behaviors. But that's not all. It keeps things moving along. Okay, and many of you said it also was embedded formative assessment. And so it's a check for what, everyone? Understanding. And as a teacher, I have to listen very carefully and what, everyone? Monitor understanding. And then I have to adjust the lesson. Do I go forward? Do I go back? Do I repeat something? Do I give another example? No matter how good the curriculum is, we have to bring our presence and our mind there. And we're going to provide what, everyone? Feedback. So if I hear errors, I'm going to correct them, and I'm going to give affirmative corrections and informative corrections to my class. But here is the big idea, and it promotes learning and more, learning and more, learning. And raise your hand if your school is interested in learning. So we pick everything that we do should have the goal of increasing the learning of students. But it does this because it focuses their what, everyone? Their attention. I need everybody though. Some of you dropped out in the back corner. So it focuses their attention, and it gives them practice, and it gives them rehearsal and retrieval. Oh, I don't see you putting your hands up here. Oh, retrieval. Okay, so now the research is extraordinarily clear about the power of increasing opportunities to respond. Across study after study, the same results, that there is an increase in behavior that is on task, that there is an increase in academic achievement, and in red, the big word, everybody, learning, and it reduces inappropriate behavior. But I'm certain that some of you are connected to Tier 2 or Tier 3 intervention in an MTSS model. Raise your hand if you are involved in intervention in any way. So the research is very clear in intervention, as reported today by Sharon Vaughn, that increasing the opportunities to respond is one way to increase dosage and engagement. Well, we are going to look at in the ways that we might do this. We've already looked at some just by doing it, but let us think for a moment about what we often refer to as the instructional cycle. So I'm teaching you, and I give you some input. I ask for a response or a question. I have you respond. And then I can monitor, give you feedback, and adjust the lesson. This is basically what we would need to see in all classes. I'm teaching social studies, input, question, response, monitor, feedback, adjust. Input, question, response, monitor, feedback, adjust. Everybody standing up and marching with me. I need you guys to get standing up and yell it out. And notice my cadence. Everybody, input, question, monitor, feedback, adjust. Input, question, response, monitor, feedback, adjust. One more time. Input, question, response, monitor, feedback, adjust. Some of you aren't marching. Input, question, response, monitor, feedback, adjust. Teacher talk. Did it feel good to stand up? But you know, so we can do that without missing a beat in instruction. And so sit, 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 sit. You're sorry that I didn't keep you up longer. All right. But so when we look at this, it goes right along with the research on clarity. And this is something I've been studying recently because the data on clarity was actually collected by a group of speech and language individuals who had doctorates in communications. And they started looking at elementary teachers and secondary teachers and college teachers, and they found that what made a big difference was clarity. Was what, everyone? Clarity. But one of the attributes was clarity was that the teacher broke down the instruction into obtainable chunks. So didn't lecture for 50 minutes, a chunk, and then had the participants respond, chunk, respond, chunk, respond, chunk, respond. And so that's exactly what this shows. I give you input, I ask for a response, or have you tell something to neighbors, or write something down, or get ready on something on the slate, and I monitor your responses, I get feedback, and I adjust the lesson. So this is actually the rhythm of good instruction. This could turn around a teacher who lectures. Ooh, chunk, question, response. Ooh, monitor, ooh, listen in, and feedback. And then another one. But the research is very clear that that type of clarity makes a difference. So this is all going to be based on this instructional cycle and the response practices you might use. Woo, all about clarity, 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 clarity. Now this is being videoed and I'm going to have to watch it and say, woo, Archer right there, no clarity. Oh, good clarity. Woo, not good. All right. So now raise your hand if you happen to be a coach. Okay. And so now as coaches, one of the most critical things that we do is do walkthroughs. And when we do walkthroughs, we almost always are looking at the delivery of instruction. And so if you were looking at opportunities to respond, here's what I believe are essential in terms of active participation. Number one, we want to gain frequent responses from the students. Oh, yes, good instructions, interactive. I say something, you say something, I do something, you do something, I write something, you write something, I say something, you say something. It never can be. I say something, 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 I say something. See you tomorrow. So we want frequent responses. And they need to be responses that are what, everyone? Overt. Meaning that you're going to say something so I can hear you. You are going to write something so I can monitor you, or you're going to do something. Now, studies have been done on having children just think about it, even giving them directive, think about this, versus tell it to someone, write it down, put it on your slate, put your fingers up, and this is not shocking, but there was a significant difference in outcomes when it became not covert in the head, but overt. So all the responses need to be what, everyone? Overt. You got to say something, write something, do something, say something, write something, do something. And number 3, right along with that, in the schools where I work, we have this in the rooms. And everybody, read it with me, keep your voice with mine, and go. Every day, in every class, every student is participating by speaking, writing, or doing. And that goes right along with the next one of involve all students. So we want in high schools and middle schools and elementary schools a no opt-out, that you just can't opt out. But you know, here's what happens in middle school and high school. If the teachers have it, and most of them have this habit, I ask a question, you raise your hand, I call on you. On the first day of school, the second day of school, we've already located as a student the 3 people in the classroom who are going to always raise their hands, right? And I'm already opt out. Not only am I not raising my hand to answer it, I'm not even thinking about the question. No, because you know, maybe there is like a fall dance, and I wonder in this room who I'm going to like take. Maybe I'm nope, can't take that one. Got a boyfriend. I mean, think of the places their minds go. And so we got to get rid of no opt out with what, everybody? Everyone does everything. My good friend Kevin Fellman, I work with elementary and secondary, but he only works with secondary. And he had, I'm from Oregon and he's from California, but the school that I'm going to talk about is in Oregon. And it was a school that was predominantly students who had Spanish as their first language. And they were in the bottom 5% of the state's tests. And he and his partner, who was a former principal, they decided to have limited interventions, just exactly like what Sharon Vaughn shared with us, limited interventions. And one thing was that they were going to do structured partners. And they really worked on structured partners, and they were going to work on every class, every day, no matter what the subject was, taught vocabulary. So that in PE, you learned a vocabulary word, in art, in music. And then at least 3 times a week in every class, you would read something. You would read. They went up in 3 years to the top 5% of all high schools by having few things they did, including everyone does everything. No hand raised anymore. No. And the first day they announced it, no hand raised. Unless I say, raise your hand, everyone. Okay, keep them up. I'm just checking the corner over there. I don't see the hands. All right, thank you. Good. So, but a no opt rule, that means having a no hand raised policy. I'm very serious about this because it was the only way that we were able to get rid of the least equitable practice. The least equitable practice in our schools was to have a no hand raised policy, that we tell the kids why we're doing it from the first day in every single class. And then we introduce them to choral responses and partner responses so that we have alternatives from the get-go in every single class. Raise your hand if you think that would be useful at our school sites. Raise your hand. Okay, now leave them in the air. Raise your hand if you think this might be a challenge with some people. Yes, but it's worthy. If you coach it in terms of equity, which is the goal of every one of your schools, that everyone would belong to the school, be a part of it, and then let's look at our practices. And that's one that is very definitely unequitable. Well, so lots of responses. They're overt. They involve all students, and they need, the first word, they need some what, everyone? Some structure. So just like turn and talk needed to be upgraded to ones tell your partner, twos tell your partner. So they were structured. choral responses need to be structured because what you're looking for here is like the band at your school playing brilliantly together, except the beginning band. Okay, so the director directs them, so the teacher has to have some way to get them to say it together, or it's not beautiful music. And they'll simply mimic their peers. They won't think. So they have to have some structure. But they also need think time. But notice I highlighted what, everyone? Preparation time. So during COVID, I was totally blessed. I had some contracts across the country that still had to go on, even though their children were in school, and they were both elementary and secondary. And one of the things I did is I had trained principals and coaches, and I had videos that I watched of 253 teachers teaching lessons. And so what we noticed was when the teacher said, write down your talking points, now share them with your partner and then with the class, the quality of the answers went way up if they didn't just think about it, but in many cases would actually prepare by writing their talking points. And so now I was, for many, not some questions don't need that kind of thinking time. You come up with the answer pretty quickly, but many of the answers were definitely much more academic language, more connected sentences, more correct syntax, if we had them think about it beforehand. So that's why I'm really going with preparation time, not just thinking time, but preparation. Well, now, this is a little list of the practices that made the most difference. And in my time, I'm going to have to pick out the ones that are most useful to you. So we could, are you ready at the top? We could have everybody say the answer together. What is it, everyone? Structured choral responses. We could have partners that we labeled 1 or 2, an A and B. Now, when I was in Hawaii, there was one class I went into that had sunshine and rainbows. Now, I live in Portland, Oregon. It wouldn't work. And we could have structured what, everyone? Team of partners, and also structured teams where we put 2 or 3 partners together. We could call on individuals, but they should be what, everyone? Non-volunteers, no hand raised. And we could structure our discussions because discussions, we found the same thing watching those videos, class discussions. Is it possible that we could predict the 2 or 3 people that would join the class discussion? Could we predict them, yes or no? Yes, raise your hand if you're a teacher and you're just finishing the year. And what do you teach?
Intervention.
High school intervention. And somebody else raised their hand here. Intervention. Okay, so now in intervention, you're less likely to leave out children, though we did find that when the actual group got 4 or more, that there were certain students that were called on more than others when the group size got larger. Raise your hand if you teach non-intervention, social studies, so forth. And right there. Oh, 10th grade. Okay, let's take the 10th graders. Are you out of school? Or are you? Okay, so name 3 people with big voice that would always join all class discussions.
Kian and Charlotte and Brody.
See, this proves the point. One research study found that every teacher could say the top 3 people that would enter discussions, and the kids in the class could do it, and they matched. Everybody knew them, and we were hopeful that they were there on the discussion day. I mean, if they're off on the debate trip, oh no, all 3 of them are gone. What are we going to do? So the basic thing on the discussions was that everybody would prepare and they would take their talking points and share with their partner before the discussion. And that significantly increased the number of simple things, the number of children that would join in the discussion because they really already shared it already. And we could have written responses and particularly short written responses right during the lesson. They could take notes, they could fill in partial notes. But one of the missing things is the use of holdups, which is one of the best things to do. Here's the multiple choice items. Read the question with me. Now read the items. Put your fingers up to show me which one is the best answer. Show your partner why you chose that one. Woo. And then the glory of it is I can monitor everybody in my classroom and hold them all accountable. Same thing with response cards or response sheets. Now, we're going to take 3 of these and spend a little more time on them, but I wanted to talk to you about one of the things that is listed under inclusive passage reading. We could have the students silently read. The only problem is that we found that you have an immense number of silent reader fakers. Look down, look up. So unless they have a purpose and it is structured so that they had a response you're going to hold them for, in 6th grade and 5th grade, some of you are working at that grade, I have the kids whisper read so I can come around and listen to them read because I don't want them faking it. But we could chorally read, we could use closed reading, I read, and stop and you say the next word. We could read to partners, we could read to team members. But here's the problem. Remember when Sharon Vaughn was talking about anxiety? I will tell you that it's way beyond anxiety if you cannot read and you're in a high school or middle school, and that is the behavior all day long. And so one of the things we have to do is have a safety net. And the one I found most effective is me or we. So I'm teaching a class and I say, you're going to read to your partner and you have the me or we option. If you say me, you believe that you can read it accurately and fluently by yourself. If you say we, you have just invited your partner to read it with you. And now there is, this is such a simple thing, but I'm talking one that all of you should take back to your school. And so the same thing, if the teacher is dedicated, we hope they're not, but some of them are dedicated to calling on individuals. And so some of you just, right in this area, they just covered up their nameplates. Right. I mean, it was like, I'm coming your way and I'm covering it up.
I really didn't do that because.
Oh, right. Heavens no, Charles. Not only was it this, it was turned around. Okay, but Charles. And so some teachers still call on individuals, which is the greatest fear of low readers is someone's going to call on them. But if they are in a class where the teacher on the first day gave the we or me option, then I call on Charles and he says, I'm not sure I could read that to myself or read it to the group. So I'm going to say we, and he's just invited to the group to read with him. So it's a safety net for these students. So even on a team, like we're going around a literacy team and you're reading and then you're reading and you're reading. But here's what was so interesting. When we actually did this in classes at first, just to try it out, we found that even very, very good readers said we. Because, they're in the peer years. I want to do everything with everybody. Ooh, I want to do it with my friend. I want to do it with my team. Everybody's got to have a group. So they say we. So it had no stigma attached to it, gave a safety net. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, the perkiest pace of all time. Okay. So we could say things together, structured partners. And I have to I sort of pre-corrected this because so many teachers said to me, well, we don't have short answers. We just all have long answers. Well, this is not true. They should teach certain facts to automaticity so that the children can use that information that's already in permanent memory to solve problems. Even for you solving a problem, it depends on how much information you have in permanent memory that you can draw from, because working memory is so limited, of 4 to 7 elements. I mean, very limited. So it is required to have it. That's why we should teach math facts to automaticity, so that when they go to a high school math class, they know what 2 times 8 is. It's, okay, that was a check on automaticity. And more think time needed. We'd have to like work on that. Okay. So, but here's when to use it. When the answers are very short and the same. We could say it together. And as a result, we could have what, everyone? Rehearsal, particularly if the teacher just presented information and had you repeat it, that's rehearsal. If a day later they have you retrieve it, that would be what? Retrieval. Okay, so I decided to pull out from one of my videos a day I was teaching, and I was teaching 8th grade civics. So you're now my students, and I will tell you that what I would do. Now, I've had to move around to keep you on task, but in the front of a room, a teacher should have a teaching arena that they return to every time they're going to give directions, important information. They shouldn't just teach from any place in the room. Then the kids spend too much cognition trying to find the teacher. So you return here, and then you move out to monitor when they're working with their partners, when they're writing, and then you return to this area. So I'm going to be here. So students, we have already had an introduction to the next 3 weeks, which we're studying the organization of the federal government. Is it the federal or the state government? Which one, everyone? The federal. And we learned the 3 branches of the federal government. 2s, tell your partner those branches and start by saying, the 3 branches of the federal government are. 2s, tell your partner, 1s, help them out, and go. Okay, eyes up here. Teacher talk. Fall silent. And we have the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. Raise your hand if you had all 3. So this week, our study is on the legislative branch. What is it, everyone? The legislative branch. And this is the branch that basically makes the laws. So we can just remember that big idea when we're going to learn much more about it. But the legislative branch makes the laws that are over our whole country. Thus, they are federal government, every whole country. And it is divided into 2 parts. And the first one is the what, everyone? The Senate. And these are called chambers, and the House of Representatives. What's the second one? House of Representatives. Now, we need to get down some facts so that when we do comparisons and problem solving, we'll know these facts. So starting with the Senate, and looking right there at the Senate and the House of Representatives, and the Senate has 100 senators. What does the Senate have, everyone? 100 senators. And how many states do we have, everyone? 50. And how many senators from each state, everyone? 2. It doesn't matter if you have lots of population like California and Texas, or little population like Wyoming. You get how many? 2. And there are 2 from each state. So Pennsylvania, how many senators? 2. And then in the House of Representatives, and they serve for how many years, everyone? 6. Sometimes they are called the higher chamber, and only because they are meant to bring stability in that they're going to be there for 6 years before they go up to vote again on them. Senators, how many, everyone? 100. And how many from each state? 2. And how many years they serve? 6. Now, the House of Representatives, though, is very different. How many representatives? 435. And this number stays constant. Every 10 years when we have a census, because this is based on the what, everyone? The population, the number of people in the state determines how many of that 435 they get. So some states get more with a census and some states get less. You know what Pennsylvania did? They lost one. They used to have 18 and now they have 17. Woo, Pennsylvania. Okay. And they go up for re-election, not after 6 years, but after 2. So some of those representatives have been there forever, and every 2 years they have to go up for election again, so we can make a new choice if we're going to keep them or not. Looking at this and backing up here just a moment, and that was rehearsal. And everybody, tell your partner what you now know, the major facts about the Senate. Ones, tell your partner and go.
Yeah, partner.
Hey, check it out. And hopefully you said, how many, everyone? 102 from each state and 30. Good. And ones, tell your partner everything you remember about the House of Representatives. Is this you want? Yes, go. 1, go. You did both of them.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, fall silent. And so I heard you say how many representatives? And how many from Pennsylvania? And California is 53. That's the most. How many? And it's based on, and how many years? 2. Now, so as a secondary teacher, are there facts like this that people should know? And we could use choral responses, but we could also use rehearsal and retrieval with partners. The teacher could go back and retrieve it. Would we have perhaps knowledge hope? Yes or no, everyone? Yes. But we won't if just the teacher says, it takes that interaction of input, question, response, monitor, and feedback. Now here we are. I'm supposed to stop now because of this. That's sort of how I feel too. But so I'm just going to show you the handout you're getting. And we might have to figure out a way that I could give you more of this. We might. But so we talked about choral responses and partner responses can be used when it's long and different. And when you want them to be involved in cognitive processing. And the first thing is paraphrasing and explaining and elaborating and summarizing and evaluating. All of those good things could be done with a structured partner, but be sure they're structured so one student doesn't dominate. And that is what's critical, that the teacher assign the partners and that you give them a designation. I always use 1s and 2s, but you could use whatever fits you. I teach them how to be partners, that they look at their partner, they lean at their partner, they whisper so they don't interrupt everybody else. And both of them need a job. So I said, 1 say the answer, and then 2s repeat the answer. 1 say the answer, 2 say how it's different, so that they both have a job. And that they might need to prepare for their response to their partners. And they need to change occasionally. You know, middle school, high school, there's just sort of short-term affairs, no marriages. So change them occasionally. All right. And are we going to call on volunteers? Yes or no? No. We are going to call on non-volunteers because we have what policy, everyone? No hand raised. I'm serious about this. It's transformative to move people into other options. And so I just want to talk about one more thing that is like definitely around. And that is all the articles on cold calls that you just call on someone. So now everybody's hiding their name tag. Yes, they are. Okay, hold up your name tag so I can see it. Okay. Okay. So here's what I see happening. So number of articles found that when they did cold calls, meaning that they didn't have kids raise their hand but called on them randomly, that the students were more attentive because they might be called on, and they were also more willing to ask questions. But then I saw something that kind of surprised me. Tracy! Now you're really hiding it, aren't you? So here's what I saw, that in secondary often came with sort of a gotcha energy. I gotcha. And that is not useful for any human being. And not only that, you are questioning, Diane, like you turned yours over for me. I saw that earlier. And now you're questioning that action. So what I would suggest is warm calls. That we need to make a safe environment for all children. And just simple things such as a warm call. I might ask a question, give you time to prepare. I could have you then share your answer with a partner, so you've even rehearsed it, and then I could randomly call on you. And see, in that case, Tracy, you would have already had a chance to think about it. You maybe have written down your ideas. You shared them with Diane. She had a good idea. Now you put it on your list. And then I call from you, and you're brilliant. And I would also give one more safety net. You are welcome to ask your partner for help if you did not remember everything. But it is that combination of, this is a class where we definitely are going to learn something. Like if that little social studies one I did for you, are you going to learn something? Like how many representatives are there? Everybody. Raise your hand if you didn't know that before. And raise your hand if you didn't know that Pennsylvania lost one. Okay, now you do. Okay, someone from Oregon had to tell you. So, numerous states got them, like Texas. Texas got more. Yeah, right. Oregon lost one too. Yeah. Oh, I know. It's a sad story. Okay, looking up here. So you have the handout available to you that goes through how to do it and what's critical. And introducing before school core responses, partner responses, no hand raised. And, teachers can sometimes say, raise your hand if you can know this well. So sometimes teachers might ask for kids to raise their hands, but without that, they won't. So you can utilize it in that way. But I think this is a very knowledgeable group. You have knowledge about active participation. You just need to spend some time on the days before school starts to go over what you could do. In this handout, you're welcome to use the slides. I asked them to put up the slides, not a PDF. And you can add examples like I did, and start out the year with no hand raised policy, with choral responses, choral reading occasionally, partner responses that are structured, and some hand raised ones where they show answers with their hands. That would be a good set. And it's transformative, but it means that the principal has to be asking for it, the coaches have to look for it, the teachers in social studies have to talk about how they're going to use it, so it can happen, but it can be transformative more than any single thing that we could do. So thanks for putting up with me during lunch. You were very gracious. Yay, team. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.